All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever looked around and thought, you know what? I could run a country better than this? Well, today, we're actually going to explore that idea. We're digging into a bunch of guides on how to do just that. Everything from declaring your own backyard a sovereign nation to, get this, uncovering what some people claim is a secret legal loophole that could rewrite the entire global rulebook.
And really, that's the question that kicks this whole thing off, right? It perfectly captures this creative, kind of rebellious, and sometimes just plain funny spirit of people all over the world who are building their own nations. It's less about revolution and way more about just reimagining the whole system.
So, the official word for these projects is a micronation. These are places that look and feel like countries. I mean, they've got flags, they write constitutions, some even have their own money, but, and this is the key, nobody in the international community officially recognizes them. You've probably heard of some, like Sealand, which is literally on an old anti-aircraft platform in the sea, or Liberland, a libertarian project on a tiny bit of land nobody wants, or my favorite, the hilarious Republic of Molossia out in Nevada. They're all just fascinating experiments in what it even means to be a country.
Okay, but before we dive headfirst into the Rebel playbook, we've got to understand the official rules of the game. So, what does it actually take to become a real, legitimate state in the eyes of the world?
Well, the big one is the Montevideo Convention from way back in 1933. It basically lays out 4 key ingredients. First, you need territory. Gotta have a patch of land you actually control. Second, a population. You need people living there permanently. Third, a government. Someone has to be in charge and keeping things in order. And last, you need the capacity for foreign relations, the ability to, talk to other countries. Now, on paper, that sounds pretty simple, but in the real world, that is where it all gets very, very messy. And that messiness brings us to this huge debate in international law. On one side, you've got the declaratory theory. This one says, hey, if you check those 4 boxes, you are a state, period. Other countries recognizing you is just them stating the obvious. But then you have the constitutive theory, which says, nope, sorry, you're not a real state until the existing club of nations says you are and lets you in. So it really boils down to this. Does a state exist on its own, or only because everyone else agrees it does?
Okay, so that's the official rulebook. Now let's get back to the fun stuff, the DIY world, and see how would-be founders get creative with those rules, or, just ignore them completely.
Yeah, the guides we're looking at make a really funny point. Your kingdom can start right at your own property line. Forget about claiming some remote, deserted island. Your launch pad could be your farm, your garage, even your mobile home. It's all about creating that sovereign space, even if it's mostly symbolic, on land you already own.
And they even lay out the game plan for you. Step 1, map out your territory. 2, write a constitution. And yeah, humor is not only allowed, it's encouraged. 3, design an awesome flag. 4, create a currency, bottle caps, potatoes, whatever works. 5, grant citizenship, maybe just with a form on your website. And finally, step 6, you go public. Launch a website, get on social media, and tell the world you exist. It's basically an act of political theater.
So, you don't have an army, right? How do you have any power at all? Well, you use what's called soft power. Instead of trying to get into the UN, maybe you join the UNPO. That's the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization. Or you could register your nation as an NGO for, world peace or beekeeping. The sources even suggest launching a TikTok embassy or naming a special ambassador for viral diplomacy. See, your real influence comes from getting attention, being creative, and using bureaucracy with a great sense of humor.
Now, this is a big one. The source guides are absolutely crystal clear on this point. This is supposed to be a creative, political project, not a militia. Any hint of being militaristic, we're talking even fake defense exercises or walking around in camo, is going to get you the wrong kind of attention from the actual authorities. The goal here is to be seen as a clever, maybe funny state founder, not a security threat.
So we have the official rules, and then we have the creative ways people bend them. But as we dug deeper into our sources, we found this third, much more radical idea. This isn't about starting a funny little state in your backyard. This is a fringe legal theory that claims a hidden loophole has already changed the entire world. It's a pretty wild question to ask, isn't it? But it's exactly what these sources are putting out there. They're suggesting that one single obscure document has already done exactly that. And the document they point to is a real estate contract from 1998. Seriously,
It's deed number 1400/98, and it was for the sale of an old NATO base in a town called Landau, Germany, to a private individual. Seems totally boring, right? But according to this theory, the specific wording in that contract set off a chain reaction nobody saw coming.
So the theory goes like this. The key was a little phrase in the contract, with all rights and duties. The sources claim this wording created a legal domino effect, linking that one sale all the way back through every single NATO and UN treaty, and the alleged result? That all the sovereign rights of all those countries were accidentally transferred to this one buyer. It is an incredible claim that all the existing countries we know are now legally just empty shells, and that true global power now rests in one single place.
So this leaves us with two completely different, totally colliding visions of how our world is actually put together.
And you can see them right here, side by side. On one hand, you've got the world we all recognize. The UN system, more than 190 countries, all based on that international law we talked about. Power is spread out all over the globe. But on the other hand, these sources present the world of the deed, a reality where all of that legal power has been quietly vacuumed up and moved to a single point. It's a clash between the world we see and a hidden world some believe is the real one.
In the end, what both the quirky micronations and these massive legal theories do is they make us ask a really fundamental question. They just blur the lines between what's art, what's protest, and what's law. And they force us to wonder what actually gives a state the right to rule. Where does its legitimacy really come from?
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. If the power of a country, in the end, is just a shared story, a belief we all agree on, then who gets to be the one to write that story? That's the real question.